Welcome back to Just Giants with Grump and the Cranky Fan, the best damn podcast for the worst damn 4-1 team in the league. I am your host, the Football Grump, and with me as always is Mike the Cranky Fan. What's going on, Cranky Fan?
Feeling old. The worst damn 4-1 team ever. I saw something today, Grump. They listed in the last 20 years, the worst teams by DVOA that were 4-1, and we were the 10th worst. So we're not technically the worst 4-1 team of all time. So I know that's
Take that, Twitter.
Yeah. So I know narratives be narrating, but seriously though, I think it is a kind of a discussion we should have about not so much that we're the worst 4-1 team of all time, because that's silly, but the other kind of narrative with it is this team for real or not? And I think it's time to really start having those conversations because, we're getting to week 6.
Yeah, you're right. This is week 6. I mean, we were kind of tabling this discussion when it was week 1 and 2, beat the Titans right off the bat. That discussion immediately comes to mind, like, oh shit, that wasn't bad at all. But you can't have that discussion then because week 1 means nothing. We're now on week 6 and we just beat the Packers, so right. I think it's a fair game to start talking about it. You want to launch into your thoughts?
Especially because we're coming up in week 6. We're playing Baltimore, who is a playoff team. So that means after 6 weeks we have played 3 playoff teams, and if we win this game Sunday, that means we have beaten 2 of those 3 playoff teams, and only one of those at home. So I think the conversation is this team for real? I mean, I don't think anybody in their right mind thinks this is a Super Bowl team, an NFC, conference champ, a team that's going to win a division even. But is this team real, being a real football team, a team that's not a team that will have meaningful football games after Thanksgiving, a team that's going to be fighting for a wild card spot? I'm starting to think that maybe it is. That just the sum is greater than the parts, and there's a lot of parts have been kind of thrown together. They just put it in a stew and cooked it up, but maybe we have something here. What do you think?
Well, I don't know about it. See, I think that this is going to be probably. Well, let's start right off the bat. They've already matched their win total from last year.
Mm-hmm. But remember, though, that last year was a combination of, injuries as bad, if not worse, than we have right now, and a team that basically quit on their coaching staff. We have the polar opposite than we do right now.
What was their win total in 2020?
5.
Yeah. So I mean, what's the difference?
Yeah.
I guess my point is that we're not even used to seeing this kind of thing. So it is necessary to kind of take a step back because I don't know if they look like a wild card team. They have their moments for sure. And that was most evident last week. Prior to last week, I wouldn't say that they really looked like a wild card team. And the added thing to think about here is that the NFC East is insanely good this year. I mean, it is surprising to me that Dallas has done what they've done with just Cooper Rush kind of manning the helm. Now,
well,
if Dallas shit the bed the way we expected to, I would say, yes, this looks like a wild card team because I've seen improvement on both sides of the ball going up to it. Last week was the pinnacle of it, and now they're in second place in their division. Dallas and Washington are not out of it, but they're definitely in a class below. Dallas has to make up some ground when Dak comes back. They look like they're a playoff team. I can't say that right now because I just don't know that they're good enough to squeak in there.
I think there's a difference between, literally being in the playoffs and being a playoff quality team. Like some teams just don't make it because, they lose a tiebreaker or for whatever reason, which is not the case that we saw in 2020, where basically because Philly tanked, we didn't make the playoffs, but none of us thought that was a playoff team. I'm talking about a team that
No, so we now look like okay. I'll demonstrate my point on what I think we look like, but I think that we're trending towards looking like what the Titans were a couple years ago, except they were a power running team. We're more of a finesse running team. That's what I think we're trending towards. But I'm just gonna read off. I'm gonna go through the rest of the schedule because we've done our losses and wins and pen and pencil or whatever. But now with some fresh goggles, I'm just gonna rattle off some teams here. So the Ravens, the Jaguars, Seahawks, Texans, Lions. Then you have Cowboys, Commanders, Eagles, Commanders again, Vikings, Colts, and Eagles. Not a lot of tough ones in there.
No, I mean, I think it might have been Bobby said it or someone said it out there. I don't know who to give credit to, but it was like, if you think the Packers they're not that good, the Packers, then who's actually good that's left on their schedule other than, the two teams in the division? I mean, you just
Minnesota team looks pretty good thus far. The Colts could go either way. The Ravens, that's really it, man.
None of those teams scare me. And you just rattle off a bunch of names in the very beginning of that list coming up in the next 6 weeks that, the Giants keep playing not looking at their roster, but the way they've executed and played and out kicking their coverage of how they played. I mean, you could really say that's like a 4-2, 5-1 stretch coming up.
You can. And so here's the thing. I can't tell if they've outkicked their coverage or if this is who they are. When I say that, just give me a moment here because there are certain things I think are going to get better. The defense is going to get better, and we're going to get into this. But the defense hasn't been healthy together yet up front, or in back for that matter. But up front, they haven't been healthy. They had like 3/4 of a game with Leonard Williams, Dexter Lawrence, Kayvon Thibodeau, and Azeez Ojulari all playing at full health.
Right.
So that I expect to keep getting better. On the offensive side, I haven't seen really anything from Wan'Dale Robinson or Kadarius Toney in this offense with this coaching staff to know for sure that is part of this year's offense that isn't missing, that's missing, that we haven't gotten to see yet, or if that's just not part of this offense. Same thing with Kenny Golladay for that matter. You know what I mean? Like, these are integral pieces that if there's a spot for them that they're ready for, in the case of Wan'Dale Robinson, you know what I mean? If there's a spot for them, they have room to grow on offense. But if Kadarius Toney is really not in this coaching staff's thoughts, if there is a disconnect there other than the injury, same thing with Kenny Golladay, if these guys are not part of the offense and they're just roster anchors that are weighing them down on the cap side of things, then they're not going to grow any more than what we've already seen on offense, and that's not good enough.
I think
so. That's kind of where I'm like, is the offense going to get better? That's what I'm worried about.
Well, Wan'Dale Robinson, they drafted, so they, their thought coming out of college was this is a guy that was going to fit what we want to do.
And I agree with that, and I understand that, and I also accept that there is many things that the coaching staff knows and thinks that I am not privy to. But I'm looking back to preseason, training camp, practices we went to. I don't really remember seeing Wan'Dale Robinson doing anything. Maybe I'm forgetting too, but do you?
I don't know. I mean, again, how much are we privy to during all of that?
I accept that. What I'm saying is I haven't seen anything to be excited about Wan'Dale Robinson in this offense yet. So I don't know. I don't know how ready he is. You know what I mean? Like, maybe he isn't all the way mentally ready at the NFL speed for an NFL play. I don't know. But I haven't seen anything that scares me.
But even a guy like Kenny Golladay, where, it's obvious he's in the doghouse, and whatever, but the presence of him out there, I think you have to think a little differently as a defense that he is out there.
Sure. I
I
agree
mean,
with that.
I think the perception that
Okay,
fans,
okay, I see what you're saying. Okay.
yeah, the fans and the media have a different perception of Kenny Galladay than I think what opposing coordinators think of him. So, if you have Kenny Sills running out there, how much are you really concerned about him running a route? Not much. Kenny Galladay, on the other hand, or even Kadarius Toney, or even Wandell, it's just they have more physical skills than who are out there right now. So the production may not be better, but they may open up production for
Right.
somebody else.
Better for the whole of the offense. Okay,
Yeah.
that's fair. So what I think of this team is right now, this is a team that will beat bad teams, uh, will hang around with middle teams, and can upset good teams. That's what I think they are right now.
Which
And to
is,
me, that is a fringe playoff team.
I know what that is for me, way above and
Improvement.
beyond expectations. And you know what that is? That we've said this before on previous shows that you're going to get more buy-in from everybody in that building because you're winning and you're competitive, and it's not lip service because a coaching staff that's drilling home something and you're not seeing results. It's human nature. So, you know, hanging around with the Green Bays of the world and beating them, hanging around with Baltimore this week, that's proving that the message isn't just words. It's actually there's results. And again, me and you and every other, giant show out there, nobody predicted this early. And it's kind of house money. Like whatever, winning these games is house money at this point for 2022. And we're just happy to go along for the ride for it.
Yeah, I would say that people saw the easy schedule or the potential for an easy schedule here. It was just a matter of I don't think that this team is going to be good enough to win all those games. So like you could certainly see like once they beat the Titans, it was legitimate to be like, wait a minute. Yeah, I don't know.
And notice I said before when I said 4-1, I said could be.
Yeah.
I didn't say put that in pen. We're going to go 4-1. That's right. I said we could be, which, in the offseason, none of us had could be 4-1 for any of that stretch of games.
Right. Yeah. I think that this is a fringe playoff team, and that for me counts as for real.
Yeah.
But also I think that some of their playoff nature is maybe the NFC just isn't very strong or something this year. I don't know.
It's still early.
It's still early. It's
I mean,
hard to
teams
tell,
like
but
Green Bay will be just fine, I think, when we get towards the end of the season.
sure.
Who knows? Maybe Philly is just.
But more than we've ever seen before, like teams that play us, they have to do work. This is not a they know how to shut us down. We've seen it before, whatever. Like there is work to be done. That's the most we've seen in a long time. So.
Oh, another reason I think that this offense is going to get better is at some point Shane Lemieux is going to come back.
Well, that's the hope. I haven't heard anything this week about Shane Lemieux. Have you?
Not this week, but I mean at some point this season.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm gonna move this topic on since I think we covered it, right?
Yeah.
So, but people who are coming back, we already mentioned Wandale Robinson. Looks like he is getting ready to return after suffering knee injury in like the first play of the first game of his first year. So I hinted at that. I think that there is definitely a purpose for him in this offense, but I haven't really seen him produce from that in any way that wasn't more than just a couple of yards here and there. So, or just negative plays. So I am interested to see if he is going to be active for this game. I don't know. What are your gut feeling there with him?
My gut feeling is he's going to play. And I think this offense again, they drafted him, and okay, this offense might have mutated a little bit since he's been gone since so early in the preseason. But if it has, you have a talent like him, you better find a couple plays in your playbook to get to him. And I think this coaching staff is smart enough that, again, this might be a little bit of a mutation of what their offense wants to be because of the personnel. They'll find some specific plays for him and make it work with him. Doesn't mean he's going to get 12 targets a game, but they might be working on a pitch count with him to get him started.
Yeah, so you think it's going to be like a low snap count in his first game, right?
I think so. I think a low snap count and even low target count just to kind of ease him in. I mean, it's going to be his first NFL game as well. So you have, you know, jitters and stuff just because it's your first game. And never mind just easing him back into, super fast, flow of the game.
Yeah, I think so too. I wonder if he's going to be mostly a decoy out there. I mean, because there is no film on him, I mean, you might trot him out there on 3rd and 3 or something like that and don't even look his way.
And to my point, I mentioned before about Galladay, having him out there as a decoy makes you think. And
Sure.
it makes you think, and you have to account for it. Somebody, maybe it's Bellinger over the middle, or maybe
Someone
Kenny
becomes
Sills.
the benefactor.
Yeah, exactly.
It's David Sills. I just every week
Kenny Sills?
you call him a different first name every week, but I let it go because it's always true to the point you're making when you're talking about him is that he's a nobody. So I just let it go. But it makes me laugh every time.
Randall Sills to me is just a body that's out there, and as long as Horace Sills is running his routes and Bernie Sills is not fumbling, whatever.
To pick the 3 oldest man names you could find. So nothing new, I think, on Galladay, as you mentioned him. He's got a legitimate MCL. Legitimate, of course they're legitimate, but I mean he has a multi-week injury with his knee. I mean that just is a fact with an MCL strain. It's the same thing that we've seen with Leonard Williams, who never missed a game before, missed 3.
Conspiracy cranky question for you.
Go ahead.
Is that all just bullshit and the parties agreed he's not playing anymore on this team and they're just going to say he's injured to save face?
I don't think so because it happened in game. I mean, you can I don't think so.
I like to throw a wacky theory out once a show, and that's my wacky theory of this. Or it's kind of like
no, I mean, I think that's not that wacky, but I don't think so. Or I don't know.
That's fair.
Wait, so I mean, I guess it's possible that he hurt his knee legitimately. Whatever, he hurt his knee, had to come out of the game, and over the course of the weeks, they came to that agreement that they just call it a sprained MCL, give him a couple weeks. But it's not like the kind of injury that's going to sideline him the whole year. So I don't really get the benefit.
Or like I said, they just want him to go away. They just say he's injured, and he just never comes back.
Well,
like, would you be surprised if he never came back?
Yes. Yeah, because that would confirm that it's like either they lied about his injury or they lied about his injury. Like it was either way more severe than they said or they did exactly what you just said. So yes, that would surprise me. Yeah.
Okay.
Because they could just IR him. I wonder even if that would that might knock some money off of his salary if he has like a per game roster thing. I don't know how salaries work.
Doesn't it? If you're an IR, is this something like the insurance kicks in paying the salary, or
I would be the last person to answer that question. But okay, so people who are coming back, we'll flip to the other side of the ball. Looks like Leonard Williams is coming back. Looks like Azeez Ojulari is coming back, and we already know who came back was Landon Collins, who was working with the inside linebackers. Does that surprise you at all?
No, because if you remember, listen to our show from 3 years ago when we didn't re-sign him. It was like, we're not giving a lot of money to a guy who's a one-dimensional guy. He was a guy who, who couldn't cover anybody. And I think you might have even said at one point, maybe he should be a linebacker.
I might have.
Back when.
Might have, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's certainly an in the box kind of safety. It doesn't shock me. Also, it doesn't shock me because this is kind of like sort of Wink being Wink at a certain point too. I mean, he likes putting either 7 DBs on the field or 3 linebackers. It's one week or the other.
And also with Leonard Williams coming back, you have guys, on the defensive line where they're going to hold their blocks and it'll make it easier for linebackers to go in and do their job. So, his life will be easier because having Leonard Williams back, if we think he's back, which I think he is as well.
Yeah. And I mean, Landon Collins, you're pretty much just giving him the opportunity to just play downhill for the most part. And it's probably, I think I've said this before, there are certain times where you get a guy in on short notice and you just give him the go get the quarterback or just cover this guy kind of assignment where you're just like, just do this. Don't worry about anything else. Don't learn anything. You don't have time. Do this. And that's sort of along those veins. Now, obviously, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but this is kind of the other thing where it's just like, we'll just put him in a downhill position. Don't put him in any position where he might be forced to suddenly have to cover somebody or something. Yeah. But like on the fly based on motion or something like that. But just try and keep him in simple situations.
Right.
Also, I think it just maximizes what he's best at.
Yep.
I don't know. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all. Do you feel happy that he's back? Did we even talk about that?
Again, I don't wax poetic about guys from 3, 4, 5 years ago. It's just okay if he's someone that helps us. Great.
I like him in this defense.
Yeah,
I like the idea. Like I don't think that this would have worked in like Patrick Graham's defense.
I think it's just
kind of like sit back and like zone or something like that. Like this, just put him in an attack position and let him go.
I think for as little money as we have to maneuver to bring guys onto this team, I think that's as good as you're going to get. And he has a specific skill set that we need. And it fits into our defense. I think it's fine. I mean, the fact that it's Landon Collins really, that's great. Welcome back. But I also wasn't lighting candles when they didn't resign him.
I didn't really have he had comments about that too, where he was like, it wasn't New York, it wasn't the people, like whatever, it was just Dave Gettleman didn't want me back. It's like, I kind of understand. Like he was in a position where you were going to kind of want a lot of money and he didn't want to sink it into that, and I don't really have a problem with that.
We were in a Twitter discussion yesterday about that. Was it like, do you think he didn't come back because Gettleman didn't want him? I'm like, well, this is not a Gettleman thing. This is just I think at the time we were both in agreement that we should not spend a lot of money on this guy for what he gives you. So I wouldn't put this in the Gettleman category of, okay, he was so awful as a GM. Here's another example of it. It was just, you only have so much money and you can't spend on something. And remember, he's coming back now at a fraction.
Oh my God, it's not even basically my thing with that whole thing was what he landed on the open market with Washington was insane money for somebody of his skill set. And then, knowing what we know about him in coverage and whatever, it was too much fucking money, which leads you to believe that was what his camp was kind of asking for Dave Gettleman. You know what I mean? So once you hear that, and it's so astronomically out of what you're willing to spend, you're so clearly on two different planes. Telling them to shove off is a totally normal fucking thing to do when you're a new GM coming in, ready to take over a team and make it good again. I mean, that's totally reasonable. So once you see that contract, that's not Washington being stupid. That's Washington being dumb for agreeing to what his camp wanted. They didn't just offer that, Right.
And that's not the first time they've done that either.
Exactly. I mean, that's what his camp was asking for. So I honestly don't care. And this is my fault. We've talked too much about this already.
It's okay. We're not going anywhere.
Yeah. All right. Let's let's talk about the defense, because are you worried about this game? Are you worried about Lamar Jackson? Are you worried about the Ravens offense?
Yeah, I'm definitely concerned. Because Lamar Jackson's one of the unique runners in this league, and statistic-wise, we haven't been so great, on run defense. And it's a guy like him who, could take matters into his own hands. I mean, I definitely think we have to, I'd love to have a spy on him for a game like this, to try to minimize that. But yeah, he frightens me. We've all seen the tape of him this year, what he can do, and my fear is with this defense is getting off the field. And if he's the type of guy where it's 3rd and 8 and with his legs can get the first down, extend drives, and all of a sudden you look at the first half and they've had the ball for, 20 minutes, and that's the last thing we need. So I am very worried about him.
Are you worried about him throwing the ball at all?
Sort of. I mean, he's a type of, again, the way he can move around in the pocket, I'm worried that you're not going to get a traditional pass rush against him. It's not just, he's going to find a way to throw. So, but not as much as I am with his legs. Clearly not. I mean, I'm not worried about him like I would with an Aaron Rodgers or other quarterbacks that are considered elite in this league. So I'm not worried about the passing offense of Baltimore. Now, I'll put that as a whole combination of just him and everything else.
I think like collectively as a team, I'm worried about the run game, but because this Ravens team, they're gonna run. They just want to run the ball, and Greg Roman is one of the best there is. He does it in creative ways, he does it in fancy ways, and he also does it simple and straight ahead ways. Statistically, our run game's been whatever. Our run defense has been, I guess, middle of the pack or towards the bottom half of the league. But I think that's more so because we don't have the talent for a complete defensive roster that we're doing a week-by-week approach to how we're doing things. So those weeks, like I said, where we either have 3 linebackers or we have 7 DBs. Those weeks where we have 7 DBs, we're just letting those run yards rack up.
Yeah.
And some of that also is, whatever. So when we do sell out versus the run, also the exception is the Dallas game. I mean, we had trouble in the Dallas game. But when we do sell out for the run, I mean, that Titans game, we shut that down. That was shut down.
Chicago too.
Chicago too. Well, Chicago, I'm watching this game right now, is pathetic. But yeah, you're right. You're right. But also,
at the time we were
concerned
Leonard Williams about the running game. Yeah,
we also didn't have Leonard Williams. So that was one of the reasons why we were concerned. And the Packers, a fantastic running team. We got them to get away from it.
Yeah, who mercifully stopped running. So
yeah, well, I mean that was a team collective effort because they were running, but they weren't really
committed to it.
Yeah, they weren't breaking off massive chunks. I mean, the running game was just working. So when they needed to catch up, they moved away. But so I feel okay about the run defense as long as like I feel okay because I think that we are going to sell out versus the run. I think we're going to sell out versus the run, and I think that as long as everyone stays disciplined, and they stay strong at the point of attack, what we have up front, I'm okay with. With Jalen Smith playing at linebacker, and I'm thinking that Landon Collins is going to be in some run defense role because he's very good at it.
I can't believe we're saying this, but it's true and it's working, right?
Yeah.
That's more about that sum is greater than the parts. It's like you just rattled off Jaden Smith and Landon Collins, and if we would have said,
and I honestly think that that's going to be a huge thing. They're good run stoppers, and that's all we're using them for.
I want to flip it a little bit. I think the fact that we're going to be able to run on them is going to, I talked about time possession before. That's where I think the time possession thing is going to really work. And we're going to own time possession. It will keep our defense fresh against them. So running after Lamar Jackson all game is a lot easier when you only have to do it for less time.
For like 25 minutes.
Exactly. If you have to do it for 37, 38 minutes, he's going to wear you down. But if, we can keep getting first downs and we can keep moving the chains and we can get time possession, I think that's as big, if not anything else, for this defense to be successful second half like it was against Green Bay.
I think the other thing, too, is that Rashad Bateman doesn't look like he's going to play. This is already a team that has just as few wide receivers as we do. They, on the other hand, make up for it with tight ends, are pretty damn good. So, I mean, it just comes down to that. Like, the fact that Bateman's out just makes it all the easier. We just need guys to be covering tight ends. I mean, guys like Dane Belton can come in and play a significant role in this regard. This is a walk in the park for somebody like Xavier McKinney. So, I mean, should be anyway. Here I am mushing everybody, but
it's my job.
I feel okay about Lamar Jackson throwing the ball. So this is truly should be a one-dimensional Ravens team that we can sell out against and stop. And we'll flip it to the other side of the ball. Are we going to be able to score points? Now, you think that we're going to own time of possession, right?
I think so. I think the way our running game has been going, I think we will. I think we will. Their run defense is worse than ours, and I think that we'll be able to have nice, long, time-consuming drives. I think We have fine-tuned our passing game. While it's not, by anybody's definition, elite or really good or good, I think it's been fine-tuned to be effective within this offense. And, Daniel Jones is not making physical or mental mistakes. He's, finding guys when he needs to, but the backbone of this offense is still the running game. And I think with, the way Barkley's been running, I really do. I think this is a game we can dominate the line of scrimmage, and have big chunks of time and yardage against them.
Well, I'm going to agree with you, but also I'm going to hit you with something else. I think that they're going to try and do the exact same thing. I think they're going to try and sell out defensively against the run, and I don't think we should. I don't think we should waver. I think that if they're going to do that, then play action them. We've already shown that we can throw the ball, and I'm not saying that we should be challenging them through the air. But if they come out there and they want to stack the box, then play action them and throw. Make them get off balance. Now, quite the contrary, I don't want to be throwing a whole lot because the entire defensive line kind of worries me in pass protection, but I'm particularly worried about JPP on Evan Neal.
Yeah.
JPP is not like, I mean, he's way too experienced. He's got way too many moves. He knows what he's doing. The lack of fingers is not going to matter in this matchup. And Evan Neal is inexperienced. He's a little bit slow and clunky right now. It's going to be a problem.
And I think he's suffering from a little self-confidence right now too. I mean,
probably
he's not been playing well, and that's okay. He's going to get an incredibly long leash. But if you've been playing poorly for 2, 3, 4 weeks in the league, when all your life you've been super fantastic, there has to be a little bit of confidence. So.
Of course, yeah, and I think you're right. But you know what? Fuck all that, because just run pass protection with a tight end to help him out a little bit, to just chip or something like that. Run your play action off of it. And you know what? If they're going to stack the box, make one of those linebackers try and play Wandale. He'll be back. Make someone cover Barkley out of the backfield. If that's the way they want to play, let them play. I mean, we don't have to be taking deep shots. And I'm not saying, run the same scheme we did last week where Darius Slayton's going down the field and just doing in-breaking routes. I don't think that's going to be working every single week. And I don't want to be dropping back that much. But even those short things over the middle, if they're going to do that, then let the running game work off of that. Make them off balance. Yeah. And I think that'll be all it takes.
Well, also let them prove that. I mean, again, I said their rush defense is not very good. A, let's see if they can stop us what we do best, and then B, like you said, play action, because I don't want to throw the ball 45 times, against any defense, because again, we don't have the weapons to do that. And I again, let them prove to us that they can stop the run. That they're going to stack the box, and they're effective against us. We have other ways to work around that. We have a very good play action game. But I wouldn't be afraid to do what we do best, and our best is running the ball and play action. I wouldn't change my scheme to be afraid of something until it's proven it can't work. Take it to them. Don't be afraid of them.
Hit me with a prediction. Tell me how this game is going to go.
Well, I've been a little bit in my predictions. I'll believe it when I see it. And I'm going to go out on a bit of a limb this week. I think they're going to pull it off. I think they're going to win this week. I think this has been a very heady week for the Giants. They've been getting a lot of love from the media, from the Twitterverse. Giant fans are already booking their flights to Phoenix. But I think you're hearing a lot of, when you hear a lot of like, are they for real? That means people are paying attention to this team, and there's a little bit of energy. And I think, fresh off of that the win last week, coming home, I think the Meadowlands will be, I think that crowd is excited. This is the first time in a very, very long time that this fan base is excited to go to a game to watch a team that's been winning, and gives them a reason to get up in the morning and schlep all the way to the Meadowlands and go watch a team for 3 hours. I think they're going to feed off that energy. And, it's a 1:00 game. All the old timers will all be there. And I think we're going to dominate running the ball. I really do. I think Saquon Barkley's going to have another really good game today. I think I think again you'll see a passing game very similar to what we saw last week. I think you'll see it be very effective. Um, I think you'll continue seeing guys like Daniel Bellinger playing well. Um, I think it's going to be a 24-14 Giants win, and they go 5-1.
Wow, you don't shock me there though. I thought you would do something like that. The only thing that shocks me is that you just predicted that Baltimore is not going to have Justin Tucker kick a field goal. Um, but
Well,
I think that this game is going to go a lot like what you just said. I think
yeah,
that the crowd is going to be super into it, but I think that this is going to be. I think that they're going to pull this game off. I think that they're going to dictate things on the ground, but Baltimore is still scary to me, and I think that they're going to break off a big play. Plus, Justin Tucker has a big leg, so they're going to be able to hang around. And I don't think that we're going to be able to move the ball against this defense as well as we did against the Packers. I think that this is going to be a fun one. The crowd's going to be super into it, but because it's going to be close all game, and I think they'll pull it off. Something like 20-16 Giants.
I think they're going to continue playing the way they've been playing with, limiting mistakes, playing clean. I mean, that's one of the things that's kind of like, that can make up for your talent gap is if you're playing smart, you're playing, not a lot of penalties, not a lot of turnovers. That's how you stay in games and you beat teams. And I think that's going to continue. I think that's another extension of, the impressiveness of this coaching staff is, getting these guys to make the right physical, mental decisions, play physically smart. And I think that continues also. Now, if they have a bad game where there's, 4 turnovers and stuff, all bets are off. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're going to keep playing, safe and secure football.
Moving to the games around the division, this Washington-Chicago game just got interesting here down the wire. It didn't get any better, but it got interesting down here the wire. So instead of giving a prediction, since there's only like less than a minute left, we'll move on to the Dallas at Philly one, and then we'll just kind of report the ending to the other game. Dallas at Philly. That has to be huge.
Sure.
I said that I wouldn't stop picking Philly until they lost. And I don't think they're going to lose this game. So I got to pick Philly here, but I don't know. Any particular thoughts on this matchup?
I just can't see Cooper Rush going every week and winning. I mean, he's done a fantastic job. I mean,
it just doesn't make any fucking sense.
No, this whole league doesn't make any sense. I mean, why are the Giants, 4-1 right now? That doesn't make any sense. It's just this. How does Philly all of a sudden 2 years ago we were like, this team is going to be god awful and they're in cap hell and the lines suck, blah blah blah, and all of a sudden now they're the cream of the NFL.
They just had, and they blew a bunch of draft picks too.
Yeah, I mean they were basically, 14, 15 months ago they were winning games by basically trying to troll the Giants. That was their mantra, and now all of a sudden they're the best team in the NFL. But playing like it. I mean, there's no smoke and mirrors out there. I think they're playing really, really well. I mean, if Cooper Rush, if they would go into Philly and they win, he's, by textbook definition of the term, is MVP of this league. For the value that he's given to this team when their quarterback is out and just winning and beating L.A., beating the Giants, beating Philly. We're not talking about going in and just beating Southwest Louisiana or just, the scrubs of this league. It's mind-boggling what he's done. It's almost as surprising as what the Giants are doing. I just don't think it's going to happen again. I'm not going to bet on that every week that he's going to keep winning. So the combination that Philly still looks like the class of the league and Cooper Rush, I'll take Philly.
Yeah. The only thing that gives me the hang up is that like all this credit that I've you know probably should some of it go to Cooper Rush. I'm just giving to Kellen Moore for being a genius. And I just don't think much of the Philly coaching staff. And I wonder if he's going to out scheme something. I mean, that's really my big, this actually, I'll put it this way. I'm picking Philly because Philly makes sense. It doesn't make any sense for Dallas to win this game, but I'm going to be keying in to see right now. This is putting to the test my theory of Kellen Moore here. If this game is super close, where it's just like, I cannot believe this is happening, and Cooper Rush is balling, I'm going to feel pretty good that this is now Kellen Moore talking and not Cooper Rush.
I'm going to be very consistent here for a second. And, as great as this Giant start has been, and all the praise is going to this coaching staff, and rightly deserved. For as great of a job as Dable has done, Kafka has done, all the coaches have done, at the end of the day, players have to play. Coaches can put you in the best position possible, but you have to play. And I think the same thing with Kellen Moore. He's done a great job. We think he's a great coordinator, but at the end of the day, players have to play. And Cooper Rush, coaches aren't chess players. They're not just moving pieces around the board. The pieces have to execute. And I think that you can coach guys up so much, at the end of the day, they have to play. And I think that the Cowboys are playing well. I think Cooper Rush is playing well, much the same way that Saquon Barkley is playing well, and Daniel Jones is playing well. So I agree with you that Kellen Moore is a great coordinator and he's probably going to be the next head coach of somebody somewhere. But I want to I've always been a players play guy more than a coach's coach guy, I guess. So does that make sense?
It does, but I disagree because of all the quarterbacks we see, like Matt Castle and Matt Flynn, that come out of really well coached systems or come from really good teams. They command a shitload of money on the open market, and then they are not actually good. So I think the quarterback position is something that in particular can be inflated. But I think generally you're right. We'll see in the future eventually, because at this rate, Cooper Rush is getting a starting gig somewhere.
Exactly.
Right?
Someone's gonna overspend for him.
So next year, Cranky, we're gonna get the end of this. We're getting to the bottom of whether or not Cooper Rush is good or Kellen Moore is better.
Cooper Rush is gonna sign a massive contract with Carolina, and this time next year, Carolina is gonna be 2-4, and we're gonna be like, "Told you so, Grump."
You know who else is 2-4? Washington, because Chicago couldn't punch it in from the fucking 5-yard line, man. They needed a touchdown to win that game, and they couldn't do it. So, congratulations, Washington. Justin Fields is worse than Carson Wentz. So that's that. Saturday, college weekend, big game, Michigan, Penn State. Lots of guys to take a look at. Michigan's got some tight ends. Eric All, Schumacher. I like interior offensive lineman Oluwatimi. All positions that the Giants need to address. Tight end especially. We can't be rolling with just Daniel Bellinger. He's more of a inline wide tight end. Mm-hmm. We need somebody who can catch the ball, and they've got a couple of those. Penn State, on the other hand, really going to be looking forward to Joey Porter Jr. playing corner, because we need one of them as well. But ultimately, it should just be a good game. Are you going to watch this? I mean, you're not really much of a Big Ten guy, but...
Well, I'll be in Gainesville as part of our 12-hour tailgate for the 7 o'clock Florida LSU game. I'm going to probably be watching... What time is that game? At noon? Or
I don't remember. It's at noon.
Yeah, okay. I'll be watching that because I'll be focusing on Bama, Tennessee at 3:30 before our game. Update for those of you, the one or two of you out there who watch Florida games every week like I do. I had mentioned Osiris Torrance, the right guard for the Gator, who should probably be a first-round pick. He is questionable this week. He tweaked his knee last week in the Missouri game, and he's questionable for this week. So, something to keep your eye on to see if that gets any worse or not, obviously for Florida in the short term. But, as he plays this year, gets more game film and, reps this year before the draft and everything. So obviously that's what I'll be focusing on.
No, that's big news because he's going to be one of the major guys coming out of Florida this year. There aren't going to be a ton. They're going to be NFL talent. So
Not really, no. And he's number one.
he might be the number one, right?
Oh, I would say so, absolutely.
Yeah. All right, so that's an episode. Be sure to like, subscribe, YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, etc. You guys know the drill. At @football_grump, at the Cranky fan. Cranky is not going to be at the game Sunday, but I will.
Yeah, I got family commitments I will be at, but I will be there in spirit. And I'm sure.
So what he means by family commitments is he'll be watching the game live just on a TV instead of doing whatever he's supposed to be doing. That'll be happening in the room. He just won't be paying attention. I've been at these events.
That's true. Yeah, and it'll all be good. So, but Grumpy will definitely be there, holding the fort down for all of us in the 124 crew.
So I will see you there, and if you guys are not going to the game, then we will see you on Tuesday morning for our next episode, recapping this game. Until then, go Giants!
Go Giants!